Haha. Hello.
Hello. How
This
are
is
you?
Barb Triviani,
Hi, everybody.
and I'm Dr. Joe. Everybody knows me, and but I want to introduce Barb to you because as a practitioner, and you've been around for a while, and you see a lot of people, and you get close to a lot of people. Well, I got close to their family before all this stuff happened with their son Michael, and so when you get close to families in the community, and then you see something happening with them, and you always have to say something to the parents like, something wrong, and I think I can help you, right? But you get into the medical profession and what they do and how they do it, and they don't understand the different paradigm shift about functional neurology and chiropractic and stuff like that, okay? So, Barb and her husband went through absolute hell. It's an amazing story. I mean, it's not something I'd ever want to repeat for anyone, but going through it, seeing it, being the doctor, being the friend, and so forth, I think we got a lot of gifts out of it.
I think we did.
Yeah,
So
a lot of gifts. You know, I mean, you hate to say it, that sometimes when things go really down the tubes for a family member and they respond to it, sometimes things happen for the better, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is probably the most heartfelt story I could tell. And I love her. I love her husband, and I love her son, and I love her daughter. I love her whole entire family. They are just amazing people, okay?
Thank you, Joe.
And because they're amazing people, that's why their son got better, all right? And I was just a conduit. You know what I mean? I was just a conduit.
Pretty big one.
Now, how many conversations do we have in the morning? Like, oh
Let's
my
not go
God,
there.
oh my God, he's not going to get better. Oh, yes, he is. Yes, he is. No, 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 it's not happening. How can we be here? And then we're watching what, Super Bowl? Ying, ying, ying. Barb? Yeah, I got something for you. I'm going to tell you all about it. Well, it's the Super Bowl. What are you doing, you crazy man? Right? So that's the kind of relationship we had, right? So we're treating Michael, her son, and I'm going to turn it over to Barb because, I mean, like, I don't know where to begin, where to end, or anything else. It is such a fantastic story. It should be a book, and it should be a movie.
No, I don't know about that.
I'm really serious. From the school, people at school, to anywhere, to psychologists, to everything. Like, I really can't believe this whole journey that you've been through, right?
Yeah,
and now you're out the other end, and you
Thank
have
God.
two great kids that are just doing really fine. But one injury, one person in the family, can destroy the whole dynamics of life as you know it, right?
Yes.
And so we got beyond it, and where is he now?
He's doing great. Going to college.
He's going to college, doing great. Wants to get into corporate health and helping people be strong and healthy and doing everything he wants to do. He's absolutely a marvelous kid.
Thank
Marvelous kid, right. I can't say anything beyond that. He's just the best, all right? And he's going to have a great life. And that's what he deserves, and the family deserves to see him achieve that, right? Okay? So, Barb, why don't you tell us about what started this whole thing?
Okay, so our son Michael played hockey, and he was in his 8th grade year of playing hockey, really getting to the top of his game, not only socially, but with school, and coming to the top of his game with his sport. Loved hockey from the time he was a small boy. All he wanted to do was play hockey, and in 8th grade, at some point, probably around December, he was hit on the ice and he blacked out, but we never knew this. And then continuing on into January, and then that rest of that whole 8th grade year, he wasn't himself. He started getting headaches, stomach aches and headaches and stomach aches, and we thought it was viruses, so we were treating that, and they would, call the doctor. Oh no, it's probably a virus. Okay, so after like the 4th or 5th time of this, around the weekend, he was getting sick like this and home from school and not feeling well. Took him there, got him checked out. They're like, no, he doesn't really need an MRI. It's probably migraines, because I get them. And they decided to treat him for migraines. He said he wanted to do that. And that was his primary care physician. And I said, no, I really don't want you treating him for migraines. I want to take him to a neurologist, at least get him evaluated before we start putting him on drugs or whatever. So, okay, whatever. So we couldn't get an appointment with a neurologist. I don't know if anybody's ever tried to get an appointment with a neurologist, but it's about 8 to 10 months out. And we couldn't wait 8 to 10 months because he kept getting sick and his grades were dropping and things weren't going well. So I went to this neurologist through CHOP, who instantly said that Michael had migraines and put him on a medication by the name of Depakote, which really changed his personality absolutely, completely. He was a kid who was bubbly and outgoing and smiling all the time and happy, to a kid who, was kind of like moping around and not talking very much.
Well, Michael, through all his grade school years that I knew him, every time you saw him, he had such a big smile on his face. It was infectious. You were just like, okay, I'm so glad I saw him today because he just left his life with me, right?
Yes, that's
right?
how he is.
And he hung around with Mark Rogers, right, who had cancer early on, and they were like frickin' frat because Mark was real small and Mike was a really big kid, and they played hockey together, and they always had so much fun. They were out in the street playing street hockey. They were running in and out of the house and the whole thing. So this is the type of kid he was. So when he doesn't have this smile and he doesn't have that energy, you know something's off, right?
Something's not right.
Something's not right.
Yeah,
exactly.
And this was like 2011, so the whole concussion movement really had just started to be talked about. It was starting to get into the news because of the NFL, and nobody really understood it, least of all myself, and I'm actually a nurse, so I really didn't know anything about concussions. So concussion, whatever. So nobody ever entertained the fact that he might have suffered a concussion. So they treated him for the migraines, and he was sort of out of it all summer because he had to have surgery on his knee and so forth. And towards the end of the summer, I didn't want him on the medication anymore because, as I said, changed his personality. He really wasn't getting any better. He still had the headaches. So we took him off, and then they cleared him for hockey, and he went and trained. His knee was a little bit better. And it was his first week of school of his 9th grade year in high school, and he was all excited, couldn't wait to play for Springfield team. This is all he ever wanted to do. It was like his dream, him and my husband, that play on this team because his buddy Mark would be coming up the following year, and all of his friends were playing. And then he was playing traveling. So he goes on the ice with them, and he practices, everything's fine. Then he goes in his first preliminary game, first week of school, and gets hit in center ice. He took a cheap shot up to his head, and his head rolled back, and he just shook it off, and he went off the ice, and he went on to the stands and sat down. And then next time he came out on the ice, he just was clumsy. He fell into the boards. He was skating like he was in mud, and he looked horrible. So he came off the ice. His eyes didn't look right. I said, "Are you okay?" He was like, I'm fine. I'm going to go out with the guys, whatever." So he came home that night, and he went to bed. And after that, he didn't get up for, I think, 2 weeks. He had severe migraines to the point of 10 over 10, dark room, in his bed for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. So after a couple weeks, we ended up talking to somebody who said, "Oh, Doc Schneider treated my son for migraines. You should probably take Michael over there." So we're like, of course, I know Joe for years, so I'm going to go over there, see Joe. So we go see Doc Schneider, and he says to us, "Wow, he's really not doing well. He's been concussed. He looks awful, and I want to treat him." So I was like, "Oh yeah?" So my husband, I said, "Well, what are you going to do?" And he starts saying, "Well, I'm going to spin him. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that." I'm like, "You're crazy." No, I mean, he can't even stand up.
I'm
this
crazy.
kid. He's crazy,
I'm
right?
crazy.
That's what I'm saying to him.
So I warn you, if you come in, I'm crazy.
So we knew we know that's not true, right? So, but we were the ones that were crazy. So nonetheless, we took Michael. We said, "Okay, well, let us think about it. Go back to the medical doctor because I'm a nurse. Stay with the medical system. Blah blah blah." Which was a huge mistake, and because of that, I'm just going to say it took a year of us wasting time on the medical system. We did get somebody down at DuPont who was a very nice neurologist, lovely person, did diagnose my son with post-concussion syndrome, said he was really sick, and they tried to treat him, and it went on for several months. And Michael was really not getting better, to the point of we took him out of school. Actually, he could not even function in school. He was missing so much school. He couldn't keep up with his schoolwork. He couldn't even do the schoolwork. And this is a kid who was on top of his game with school. He's a very smart boy. So, we just kept getting more and more concerned. We couldn't get him to go to school. He was laying in bed day after day with these migraines, and he just wasn't the same person at all. He wouldn't speak to us. He wasn't interactive. He wasn't getting up, and he was spending most of his time in bed. So when he did go to school, if he started to feel better, he would go to school, and then as soon as he went to school, he would come home and lay on the couch and then not get up for another 3 days. So in December of that year, the following year, actually, his sophomore year, Doc gave us a call, and he said, I know what's going on with Michael, and I can help him. And my husband and I said, you got the job. So
Finally.
We got the job.
Last string, but
very,
you know
very
what?
late.
I'm a powerful last string. I can tell you that
I'm
much.
the biggest doubting Thomas that he has ever met, right? So, we were obviously desperate, and we should have listened to Joe a long time before that, but it was a huge mistake. We took Michael there, and we started the treatment, and Michael was really reluctant, right? I mean, he was so sick, he did not want to go.
He came in so sick.
Forceful.
I know he had a freaking headache, but he was determined.
He was.
He was determined. He was like, okay, nothing else is working. I'm going to do it. And every time he showed up, I was like, this kid, unbelievable.
He worked hard.
He worked hard, really worked hard.
And it was a long time, 6 months of the treatment through the brain balance, right? And a lot of exercises, eye exercises, all kinds of things with the balance. I mean, it was just really intense, like 4 or 5 times a day. We were doing these things with him, and a lot of the time he was miserable because his head was killing him, and he didn't want to do anything. His resting heart rate was like 110. The kid couldn't walk the dog without getting a headache. He couldn't do anything. I mean, really gained 80 pounds during the course of his illness. And he just suffered greatly. And because of that, we did too. Because, you see your child who was all the way up here, and then one day he's way down here, and you don't know what happened, and how can we fix it? And we just couldn't get there. But when we went through Joe's program, it was like a miracle. Very slowly in the beginning, but then it just kept getting better and better and better and better. And now it was a long time coming with Joe's constant, unwavering support, not only from us, but for Michael. And Michael's determination, as Joe said, he really was determined to get better. He had a lot of obstacles to overcome once he started to get better, and we were just talking about that before we came on here. A lot of the post-traumatic stress of what he had been through. He was on top of his game, as I said. And then his hockey friends, like nobody called him. He sort of fell off the face of the earth. He had no support other than Marky, thank God. God bless Marky, was there for him the whole time. But most of his other friends just sort of, ignored him. They didn't call him. They didn't care about him. He was out of the loop. Until finally, I had run into a friend of mine, and I told her the story. She's like, "Where's Michael been?" And I told her, and she told the rest of our friends who we've known who weren't hockey people at all, but they were just other friends of ours, and she got all those boys who knew Michael since he was in kindergarten. They rallied around him, and since then they're still friends today. It's a group of about 6, and the women in the group, the moms and the dads and everybody, were so supportive of us, and that was really probably in Michael's junior year that happened. So it was a long time.
Even coming out of his concussion like he did, then it's like, all right, I'm 2 years behind my school. Like, I got to catch up. And then he got hit by that pressure. And then the school was not very supportive at the beginning, which I was really surprised. All right, we're sitting in a meeting. I come to the meeting with Barb and Mike, her husband. And they're saying, well, we don't think he was ever that smart, right? And we're like, well, he scored on the top of all the standardized tests, year after year after year after year. What are you telling me? He just faked it, or you just wanted to make him feel good, right? And that day I couldn't believe it, because she took out the head person at Springfield High School. Like, just totally took him out.
I had all the copies of the standardized tests with me, and I said, if my child is not smart, then, what are you telling other people? Because what do these tests mean? and nobody could say anything. They were just, dumbfounded. They really couldn't say
Right.
anything more. So they knew that they had to help him. And, when people go through a traumatic event and they have emotional issues because of it and they struggle, people really don't have time for that, I felt like. People just didn't have patience for it. They didn't really understand it, so they just wanted him to just bounce back up and be okay. And that really wasn't the case for
No,
him
not the
right
case.
away.
No.
Emotionally, he had to
He had to work
overcome
really,
a
really
lot of
hard now
hurdles.
to really catch up. And he didn't have hockey anymore. He didn't have that outlet for himself.
Yeah.
But he did start to get out. He had anger. His primary emotion, I thought, was anger. It wasn't depression or anything like that. He's just angry that all this happened to him, and he didn't have his life back the way it was before.
Right.
So he really had to overcome that. But then the second thing after overcoming the concussion was overcoming how far behind he was at school.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Unbelievable, the work that you have to catch up with when you lose your freshman year and like your sophomore year, and then you want to graduate with your class. And he did, damn
He
it.
did. He
Right?
did it.
He did it. He graduated with his class. It was unbelievable. He had to do a little bit extra, that summer. But hey, he did it.
He went 2 summers.
Yeah, 2 summers. That's
Yeah.
right, 2 summers. And then he's in college now, and life is normal, and he's chosen a track that's really good, and he's built. He's like brick. Oh, like that. I wouldn't mess with him. But you don't have to worry about it because he's such a nice kid.
He's a sweetheart.
Sweetheart,
He
right?
wouldn't hurt anybody.
But he's so strong. He's so strong and solid, and he looks so good, and he's gregarious and happy, and just amazing.
He's back to himself.
Back to himself.
Yeah.
So, concussion stories can be very tragic, especially if you don't find the right treatment. I've been blessed with the center that we have now, and we're working with kids. We're growing, expanding. Like I said, next year we're gonna have a gyrostim, which I'm really happy about. And we're gonna be in 7,000 square feet of space, treating brains. We're treating brains now. And then the other gift was I had a stroke, so I know about brains even better than I knew before. And the gift is that I can help more people through what we do here. So we're treating some stroke cases too. We have an anoxic stroke case in a wheelchair. Guy was in a coma for 3 months, and then 8 months he had no real great treatment. And then I went to the nursing home, and now he's coming here twice a week. And slowly but surely, we're doing good work with him too. So, a lot of times, Barb, these cases come to me, and I'm like, should I do this, or should I just forget about it? And because, I was just born saying yes.
Yes, you were.
I just say yes, right? And a lot of times it makes me think a lot at night, and then I kind of change the program until it fits just right, and then things start to happen. Sometimes slowly, sometimes quickly, but they happen, and it's far-reaching. It's far-reaching emotionally. It's far-reaching for a family, because your family had to heal after that,
Yes.
right?
It was so severe.
It was so severe. It's kind of like you argue with your husband every day because you want to do something with him, and he wants to do something with him, and you want to do something with him, and then your daughter isn't part of the mix, and she's not getting the attention she wants.
My mom was there too.
The mother was there too.
Yeah, it was a lot of stuff happening at
It was
once.
a lot of stuff. It's pretty tragic,
It was a
right?
lot, yeah.
And so once, Michael starts getting better, then the whole family has to start to gel again. And that took some time for you, didn't it?
It did. It
Yeah.
did. It really did. But what Joe did for us, not only for Michael, but for us as a family, was just incredible.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it
We
was
couldn't
really,
have done it
really,
without
it was really a pleasure. It really was a pleasure. It's probably one of the best things that ever happened to me in my life was to be able to do this and accomplish that. Like I said, I love Barb. I love her family, and I'm just connected to them forever. So it's just that's what happens. Yeah, it really is. It's so cool. So I'm glad you came out tonight because we're trying to spread the news about the type of work we do. So if there's anybody out there with a kid that they think is hopeless, then that's why we created the Hope Center.
Not hopeless here.
Yes, not
Right.
hopeless. There's always an option. There's always something we can do, and we can increase function in some way and make life better in some transformative way forever.
Right,
Okay?
I got it.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.